Hello and welcome. Today we will look at the combination of Tunisian simple stitch and yarn over. If this is your first time, thank you very much for stopping by. My name is Mirka and I make stitch, pattern, crochet and Tunisian crochet tutorials. If this is of your interest, please consider subscribing, hitting the like button and letting me know what you think about the video in the comments below. Without further ado, let's dive in. As I mentioned in the intro, today we will be looking at a stitch combination. It's a work that is worked over an even number of stitches and it's 2-row repeat. And it's as simple as yarn over and Tunisian simple stitch. So we will be creating this beautiful texture. For this tutorial, I'm using paint box chunky, simply chunky, and 8mm Tunisian crochet hook. You can go a little bit up with your hook size for chunky yarn, but this is what I like to work with, 8mm. So we'll start with a slip knot. You insert the loop on the hook and chain. So chain is as simple as yarn over and pull up a loop. That's chain 1. Yarn over, pull up a loop, that's second, and you continue like this until you have your desired width, and you need to have even number of chains. So I'm going to do a few more for this mini swatch. Okay, 8, 9 and 10. Then we will work what is called Tunisian Foundation Row. So we will need to add stitches onto the hook because at the moment we only have one. So we will be turning our row of chains and we insert the hook into the back bump of your chain stitches and pull up a loop. Again, we insert the hook to the back bump, yarn over and pull up a loop. And you continue like this all the way to the beginning of your chain. This is what we are doing is what is known as forward pass. So on forward pass, you add stitches onto your hook, and then on reverse pass, you work those stitches off your hook. So we've added the last loop just to double check that we've got even number, which is fine. Then we will work the return pass, which is yarn over, pull up a loop. This is also known as chain 1. And then yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the beginning of your row. So as you can see, we are decreasing the number of loops that are on the hook. So for the second row, row number 2, we start working the first row of the stitch pattern. So first we yarn over, then we work 2 Tunisian simple stitches. So we need to insert the hook from right to left under the front vertical bar. We yarn over, pull up a loop. We repeat this into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we take the yarn over loop and pull it through the 2 loops, and this creates this horizontal bar. Okay, so again we yarn over, work 2 Tunisian simple stitches, take the loop and pull it over. This is a little bit like the bamboo stitch. I've forgotten mine, yarn over there. Little bit like the bamboo stitch, except for bamboo stitch was worked over 3 loops or 3 stitches. Okay, so I've got the last pair of my stitches here. So I'll do yarn over, do 2 Tunisian simple stitches and pull it through. Now we get to the last stitch, which is also known as the end stitch. And here we don't insert the hook under one loop, but under both of these 2 strands of yarn of the very last stitch. So we insert the hook under these yarn over, pull up a loop. So now what we did is, even though we were yarning over, which yarn over is usually increase, we maintained the number of stitches because we pulled the yarn over loop over the stitches, so it doesn't add up to the count of the stitches or the number of the stitches that you've started with. Okay, so now we continue with our standard return pass of chain 1, yarn over and pull through 2. Okay, for row number 3, which will be the second row of our stitch pattern repeat, we are going to be offsetting this stitch pattern by 1. So instead of starting with yarn over, what we did for row number 2, the row number 3 starts with Tunisian simple stitch into the first stitch, and then we yarn over and work the pattern as per the row below. Yarn over 2 Tunisian simple stitches and pull the loop over the 2 stitches. Again, we repeat this all the way to the end. So there you will be left with this very last stitch before the end stitch. So you will only work Tunisian simple stitch into this one and then the end stitch. And as you can see, this shifts the position of the loop which we pull through the stitches by 1, creating this beautiful texture. Again, we will work standard return pass. All the way to the beginning of the row. And that's where the stitch pattern ends. So again, you first work the foundation row, then you work row number 2, which is the first row of your stitch pattern repeat. You will yarn over, work 2 Tunisian simple stitches, and you pull the loop over the 2 stitches. You continue to the end of the row and work end stitch. For row number 3, which is the second row of your stitch pattern repeat, you will offset the stitch pattern by 1. So you will start with 1 Tunisian simple stitch, work the stitch pattern of yarn over 2 Tunisian simple stitches, pull the loop over to 2 Tunisian simple stitches right to the end. There you will be left with 1 stitch before the last stitch, before the end stitch. You will work 1 Tunisian simple stitch, then end stitch. And you will continue repeating rows number 2 and 3 for the desired length of your project or all of your swatch. Once you work as many the stitch pattern row repeats as you need to, you will get to the end of your project, and now we need to bind off the last row. So for this project, the most suitable would be the Tunisian simple bind off. So we will start with working Tunisian simple stitch into the first stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then we pull it through the loop that is already on the hook. And we will repeat this for each stitch in the row below, and this will create very neat edge at the top that resembles the bottom of your project. And we also repeat this for the last end stitch, like so, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial useful. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever used this stitch for any of your projects, and if not, what would you like to use it for? And I see you in the next video. Bye bye.